Great. Put it back in the meeting here. Thanks, Adam, for having me here today for the Azure Sentinel. Now, like my title says, I'm cloud security person, but I'm office dev person as MVP. So it's a bit confusing sometimes. But what happens really is about what we are really trying to do in the Office 365 or M365, I call it now, is everything across the platform. So whether it's about extensions, applications, whether it's security, whether it's modern work or modern workplace, everything is pretty much integrated nowadays. So we have to look after everything. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I have the presentation open here. Yep, cool. So my name is Ashish. I'm in Melbourne, so I'm in lockdown here and working from home. And I'm going to talk about the Azure Sentinel and why very specifically Azure Sentinel. Now, I understand that everybody is trying to work from home and every organization is trying to set up their work from home arrangements if they were not previously. Some IT firms like us and yours might have already have this capability to set them up early and do it, but a lot of firms across the globe did not have that anticipated coming, and then they have to go through and set up their remote working. Remote working is good and not good. It has its own plus and minus things. But what happens when you start working remotely? You could be using your personal device at some time. You might be using your managed device at the some time, and then you start using the corporate data on those devices. Now, as a corporate, the very important thing is for me to secure that information, whether it's sitting in my SharePoint or in Teams or it's in the Outlook emails, or you download a copy for printing or signing or anything like that. Now, to understand what's happening really from the user sign in process till the endpoints until the data lives within the endpoint and where it goes, I have to set up so many systems. Now, this is where the complicated picture of the digital workplace come in. Like you have so many places, so much information, you have to manage it, where it goes and how it is being used. Now, to understand that, and understand the security challenges at this moment. The very first thing is a lot of SOC operations are like on the big screen TVs and the users, the people are sitting over there watching what's happening, looking at the threats coming in, and then automating or processing those threats. Even if I talk about M365 before Sentinel piece, we have Azure AD logs, we have AMCAS logs, we have Office 365 log, we have AIP logs, we have MDATP logs. We have all the logs all over the places. And if anything happens, the first thing we started, okay, where it has happened. So let's say you triggered or got a log in the MCAS where the alert is coming. Then you pick up, okay, which user, which device initiated it. You go to the MDITP to pick up the device detail. You go to the Azure AD, pick up the user details. And then you try to correlate multiple logs because there is not just one log, there are multiple logs for that user. Then you try to drill down on the day, try to drill down on the time. Then you see, okay, he has used a SharePoint file. Then you might want to go into the Office 365 Security Center and see the activity logs over there, what's happening with the SharePoint. It's very complicated. Now to simplify and have it working in a working model, what we have to do is we have to have a security team, but we should use the cloud native solution, which will have power and capacity to process these many logs, and also the AI. So not really removing the human behavior, human touch to the security, but giving that advanced information with which the user is working on it and wasting time to correlate those logs using AI, using the cloud power, and giving that best picture to the user that hey, this is what information you are looking for, and from here you can go and use this. So it's really important to understand that the Sentinel is gonna not simplify your remote working or go to the cloud strategy. It also simplifies your working model of this cloud maintenance. So it will go and help you to simplify your SOC operations. And as being a SIEM and SOAR platform, so basically you can do the information management, you can automate the security operations orchestration for responses as well. So it can help you on both the side, not just the investigation. Will help and get the things done from an end-to-end picture perspective. Now, when we started working on the Sentinel, we deployed 4 or 5 projects across the Australia recently on the Sentinel, and what we have seen is customer have been using either a Splunk or any third-party SIEM systems, and we have seen that there is a complex picture of multiple components talking to each other or trying to get talk to each other versus Microsoft one unified platform as a SIEM with other products works really well. I'm not trying to sell Sentinel, but I'm trying to explain from my experience that what is and we have seen at the customer place and in what sort of a transformation it brings to the security team altogether. Now, if I have to define the working of a SIEM system, they are pretty much straightforward. So I will not go and talk about much of a marketing side here, but I will talk about how the SIEM works in the Office Microsoft 365 space. So very first thing is um, for as a SIEM, you will go and collect the incidents across the board. You start looking into them and get a visibility as what's happening into that system. Then you will start analyzing that. Is this alert really a threat? Or do you have to respond to this? If it is not, is there something related coming up which is similar to this alert and but in a different system, and that could be a threat? And then you start into a hunting space. And this is where you will see, okay, the system alert in the AD doesn't present me a threat, but at the same time, the file being downloaded on a personal device from SharePoint with a high confidential level is a threat because that file contains financial data. And that's where we will start looking into that information and you say, okay, this is where the incident is, and we have to understand what's happening. Then you go back into the incident place, and then you look upon the picture of the correlation, and it gives you a nice graph to show you that user is logging from this device, this IP, trying to access this information from here, has traveled on these many services, and then this is what has happened. And then you can say, okay, this is the incident, we have to investigate it. Then you can assign it to a person, and the person can start the investigation. And once that's completed, you can mark those incident as open, close, or whatever the resolution is directly in the same solution. You don't have to really take that incident, uh, go into a service now if you are using ServiceNow and manage it from there. If you need to do that, yes, you can. You have capabilities to take your incidents from the Azure Sentinel, create those incidents in the ServiceNow and assign it to someone as a service desk, and then they can come back and look into that incidents also. At the same time, we have the power of automation, and this is where your medium alerts or the high alerts, which are not really a very high alerts or severe critical alerts, basically I'm talking. So your medium and high alerts can be responded automatically. You have logic apps automation, which will allow you to take actions according to the information being given to them, and you can bring those automation in your workbooks as well. So you can create the notebooks and workbooks, which will also help you to create that query and understand what's happening across. And once you start using the automation, you will be able to go and touch the systems. Like if I see global admins logging into the systems, and then I see a sign in alert coming for me for the global admins, I should go and disable that account immediately because I don't know if global admin got a compromised account for that purpose or not. This is all from the Microsoft portal. Now, apart from that, as you know, Microsoft is going into the open source system and trying to help everybody. They have a GitHub repo as well. I will be able to show that repo. They have published a lot of tools and um, notebooks and workbooks and analytics rules in the public space, which you can directly go and consume it. And the advantage is that now they have built something in the Azure portal straight away, which will allow you to take those Jupyter notebooks or the analytics rules from the GitHub directly into your tenant. You don't really need to set up something very specifically. On the similar line, the Azure Sentinel is following the Azure deployment path. So you can use your DevOps model to deploy Azure Sentinel end to end. There are few limitations with the Azure API as of now, which are being overcome by some of the third-party PowerShells, but they are really nothing but talking to the internal APIs by investigating into the fiddlers and things. So we have to see what is supported. As of now, as I understand, with three deployments, 70 to 80% is supported. There are some scenarios where you might not override your analytics rule. You might have to create a V2 version. You might not update the notebooks and things like that. So because the API is not available in public space. So those are the things, but it is pretty easy to go and set up a DevOps and then deploy your Azure Sentinel across. On top of that, Microsoft is giving support from Lighthouse. So if you are into a managed service scenario, you can deploy Azure Sentinel across your customers. You run your Lighthouse instance, and you will be able to manage those Azure Sentinel alerts from your one instance. You don't have to really go and switch between the systems. So from a project and consulting project perspective, that's a great. From a managed service perspective with the Lighthouse, it's a great capability. And also as an internal, if I'm working in to my organization and I want my team to have more security in picture and visibility over it, what's happening in the organization, it gives me one dashboard, one placeholder is straight away to see everything across M365 stack. If you have any question, feel free to raise your hand and I will be able to take that up. Or if you feel, okay, that question is not important, put it in the chat window and I will see it at the end. Now going next here. So if I will talk about like sort of some steps here and you will see them. The very first thing is the visibility. And it's important that we should get all our information at one place to really understand the value out of it. Now, as of now, as I mentioned, that the any enterprise will have various type of systems. Not necessarily they will all live on the Microsoft Word, but if they have diverse system across AWS or SIEM as a Splunk, or they have Semantic, or they have McAfee or whatever. So everything, if you look upon, everything can generate logs for sure. Now, if you are leveraging Azure and Microsoft 365, it is pretty straightforward that you will be able to use those alerts and activity data to feed into the Sentinel. But if you are using other systems, the very simple question which I get is, can I send my logs from any of the system to Azure Sentinel? If your system logs are in a syslog pattern or a model, any log from any system can go to Azure Sentinel because that is compatible with the Azure Log Analytics. And then Azure Log Analytics and Log Workspace will help back into the Azure Sentinel to feed that information. So irrespective of specific systems, that's very generic terminology I use to with customer, that anything which you can think of as a syslogs can go to the Sentinel. Then definitely, if you want to feed into the Sentinel, the log workplace space where you want to push, you can use APIs as well. So if you have a, let's say, a custom application and you believe that custom application should start sending their logs as well. So either you can use the application logs to feed in, or you can write your log mechanism in your application to send that log to the Azure log workspace. The Microsoft Graph API is sort of a getting bigger into this picture here, and Microsoft Graph has a component called as, or it's a subset of the Graph API called as Intelligent Security Graph. So it helps you to push a lot of information if you or pull information as you need it. So you can do a lot of with the Microsoft Graph API also. If you are building a third-party system or having a third-party system, you can call the Graph API from your third-party system to push that information as well. So the very first thing is, irrespective of in the enterprise what system do you use, we will be able to take that log and then push it into the Azure Sentinel. Now, once the logs are being pushed upon and the pattern has been created, you will be able to go and create your notebook, which, sorry, you will be able to create your workbook. Now, in the workbook, you will have a lot of built-in workbooks. You can create and customize your one as well. And then you can use different visualization pattern to see that information. This is like more of a dashboard from a specific system. So if I say I need to just see the Office 365 information, I can go to the workbook section and see the Office 365 workbook, and that will show me all the data. Now, uh, you can create your own, and it really depends as how you would like to do. Now, the Sentinel recently has modified their way of creating the new workbook. Is just go to the portal, click on the links, and you will be able to configure it easily. And you can create your own. So by default, let's say if 365 or any workbook shows just 30 days data, you will be able to modify and set up a custom timeline or is relative timeline to show you the last 120 days or a year data as well. The next thing, which is about the analytics. Now, in the analytics, you will see a lot of rules running and trying to find out what's happening with the system and then generating those alerts or threats or letting you know that what's happening in the system. If you see here, you will be able to get a lot of built-in analytics rule based on the workbooks which you add, and these are from the Microsoft. Microsoft also follow the MITRE attack framework and will have the fusion rules as well in the system. So you will be able to use either a default Microsoft one, or you will be able to use the rules which follow the fusion and MITRE attack pattern as well. So you will be able to see the threats coming based on those standards. If you want to create a new rule, you have to know KQL. Now, KQL is called as Kusto Query Language, and this is something common if you have been playing with the Azure logs and querying it. But if you have not been playing with that, it is a language which you can use to write the query. Now, it is a bit different than a normal SQL query, and you have to follow certain patterns. So it's something like a learning upskilling KQL if you really want to dig deeper into the log space and create your own queries. Here you can create your correlated queries. You can use the information across the data sources, and then you can trigger the playbook. So if you need to, so things like if I see the query running up and see the sign in alert or a file download alert or with a high confidential label, I can trigger my playbook and send notice to maybe a team member in the teams, or I can send it to the user itself that you have done this. Are you sure that you would like to download that copy or something like that? So Playbook is about automation side of the work. Now, this is again leveraging the machine learning and trying to do the false positive as low as required so that we can focus on what is really the alert and is that alert require the intervention from a human or we can automate that alert. So it uses the ML. Right now, it's not available to bring your own ML model, machine learning model, but soon you will be able to bring your own machine learning model. So it really depends if there are enterprises who have developed their own security modeling, they can bring their own model in the future. The next thing is hunting. So you have created a workbook, you have added, and you are getting the alerts. Now you got the analytics rule up, and they are running either scheduled on the or on the alert, and then you will see that okay, there is something happening. Now I have to go and hunt the threats. Basically, I have to go and find out that, and you can just go and build or run the query which is built in, or you create your own. Now in this, what will happen that you really don't have to have a KQL experience fully, but you will be able to use some built-in parameters to run a simple query. If you really want to go, like say, select the logins from the Office 365 and then go and find out the logins of a specific day and see what are all the files being downloaded on SharePoint from that day and then how many mails sent, then you need to do a lot of joins and parameter binding, and that's where you will need to have a advanced KQL usage. This will go and help you to understand what has happened for in a hunting is basically hunting. And then when you see the results, you can go and click the results and then you can start investigation if you feel there is a alert coming back or a result coming back which needs more investigation. There is a new thing called as live streaming, which has been released, and there is a bookmarking as well. Stream is something like when you are working on some rules, they are scheduled rules, so they will run on a scheduled time. But you won't like to see what is happening now in the system, or you got an alert from, or maybe a false positive alert that something is happening. And in this case, you can go and straight away do a live stream hunting in your Azure Sentinel. This is something new has come up within the last 1 month. Then yeah, if you know how to create Jupyter notebooks, you can go and create definitely advanced hunting. uh, I remember there was a course, not really a course, there was a session from Microsoft which said that they would like to build and showcase how to use a Jupyter notebook with the Graph API to show and get that data. And then you publish definitely those notebooks in the Azure Sentinel. It's really important to understand that do you really have to go and do it? Or again, you could leverage the Microsoft Azure Sentinel GitHub repo and see a lot of Jupyter notebooks from there and bring those notebooks and customize those. So it'll be like a smart learning exercise if you would like to jump into the Azure Jupyter notebooks for custom and advanced hunting. Was there any question? Okay. The incidents. So this is where you start investigation. So as I mentioned, like when you see the threats coming through, you would like to see who is doing what, and then you would like to investigate. And when the threats are being registered from your analytics rules, you will be able to go and see the correlated information. Some of them may be not really relevant. You will be able to see the priority and the actions coming up, and you can see the repeat pattern as well. And then you can say, okay, these are the system generated alerts looks like, because you know that there is something happening. Or if you really see that, okay, there is a person, like a human generated incident, and you see that it's really something happening again and again from a particular person, particular machine, you would like to investigate that alert. So as you see here, you have ownership of the alerts, so you can assign them, and the particular person can investigate alert. You can also trigger automated playbooks. So if you have linked up the playbooks, which is nothing but the logic apps behind the scene as automation, you will be able to trigger those as well. So if you say there's an alert, sign in alert happening for a service admin account, you may want to block that account, and you can just trigger the alert using trigger the playbook using the rules, and it will go and block that service account till you resolve this investigation. So this is how the investigation will appear on a map. And right now it is assigned to admin as of now. So if you see here, you will see these alert. Then you will be able to see from where it is coming up, the IPs addresses of the machine, and then you will be able to see the website being visited. Then you will be able to see the other related threats from the same user. So this shows a very pictorial representation of what we can be might be doing into the Excel or any other tooling which we use for the SIEM. And whenever you click any icon over here, it has a entity info. Basically, everything is like an entity, and then you will be able to see that more detail about that information. Now, this is the automated detonation where you will be able to see what has happened. And you will be able to configure the entities in the analytics rule to trigger that information. So if somebody is trying to log in and the login doesn't really have a Office 365 URL, but the screen looks like that, you will be able to use those advanced things to automate that. Then the automation part comes, which is the logic apps. So as I mentioned, like as you will have the triggering components, which will trigger when a specific thing has happened into the system, and then you will be able to go and run those conditions. So if you see over here, you will see that, okay, I'm trying to use a Azure Security Center alert, and then trying to go and create a ServiceNow incident, and then post it back to Microsoft Teams, and then I will send other messages or anything like that based on the business process. You have full power of the logic apps to connect here and do the thing. So if you see here, if I have got the alert corrected and approved, I will go and block the user in the Azure AD, and I will block the IP address as well on the Palo Alto. So if I say, okay, investigation says that, yep, it has to be blocked, I don't have to do any action. I can just let the logic app run itself. So this is where you can trigger these alerts from the analytics as well. So you will be able to say, as soon as anything happens, you will trigger these playbooks. Some of these playbooks are here, and I can talk about some of the scenarios like leaked credentials, and you will see on the leaked credentials that a lot of logins are happening, and then you might be seeing maybe a gold integrated style or the pass-through things happening, and then you're trying to see that different IP addresses or different locations for the same user account, and then you can go and block those IPs and user account till you fix the issues or block the user access, and really depends on the sign-in risk versus the user risk, and you can use all those parameters to compare that. I will not go into the roadmap because this has been changing. It's not really consistent, but a lot of things have gone into the GA. So as I mentioned, the live streaming has gone into the GA. The GitHub integration is built in pretty much straight away now. Coming to the advanced side of the work, which is bringing your machine learning models, is still in progress. It's not yet out, but you will see if you are playing with Sentinel on a at least monthly basis, you will see that there are a lot of change has happened during the last 1 month and, itself. So there are things happening. Now let me, I will skip this one. Maybe I will talk about the pricing later. I have a pricing model, which is because a lot of customers ask us, hey, we would like to deploy Sentinel, but what's the pricing will look like? So as you know that pricing for the Sentinel has a lot of component, and it will depend as what components we are using and how much. The key components are the log analytics space, the retention of the logs, and how many logic apps are you running. And if I go and build this at the different places, you will have different pricing coming up. So I will talk about the Azure calculator itself. When you are doing the Sentinel pricing in the calculator, you have to remember that what's the log being ingested, and then the retention, and then you will see a third component for the logic apps. If you don't add all the things together, you will not get really a correct estimation for the price. Some samples are here. So if I am going and doing a 2 gig, in a pay as you go model, if I'm trying to do 100 GB logs per day, then it's going to be a sort of like a $430 per day pricing. And then for 100 GB capacity, I will look upon somewhere around the $100 for Sentinel, and for log analytics is 196. So it's 296 total. Similarly, I have pay as you go and log analytics space. So you will see that how as soon as you start talking the retention and other services, the pricing straight away changes. Let me jump into a demo mode and come back to here. Any question before I go there?
No, all going well so far.
Okay. I know we are doing virtual one. I thought I will just talk from everyone perspective. How many of you have played with the Azure Sentinel? Why I'm looking this side, because I have my Teams monitor this side here. So how many of you have played with the Azure Sentinel in the past? You can say why +1 or 0, like based on how many of you have used it.
You've
You
got
can
the
open up
raise. You've got the raise your hand option, so people can click on that one. See if anyone's awake. There's one hand.
Great.
2, 3.
2, 3,
4, 5.
Okay. Okay. Good. And if you guys can unmute and maybe talk about your scenario before I jump into the demo, then I can drive the demo in a direction that will be helpful as well.
Was that just about what we're doing with Sentinel so far?
Yeah. And your experience with the Sentinel, what you have done and what you have seen.
Look, it's Damien from the Australian Ballet here. Look, we're very in the early days of playing. We've got an outside consultant helping us with it, but we've connected Sentinel to obviously all the Azure cloud space. and we're looking at connecting it to our firewall vendor as well. We've deployed some of the on-prem agents to our on-prem AD servers and a few servers to gather data in there as well. We haven't got any automation configured per se at this point, but that's something we're kind of, now that we've got a bunch of data in there, we'll be working with our consultant to kind of figure out what logical playbooks we're looking to do, and it'll be stuff around automatic account lockout on certain behaviours and stuff like that. So the IT team doesn't really need to worry about stuff at the weekend as much. We can kind of know the system's going to take care of account compromise potentially after hours or on weekends, because the issues we've had has largely been out of time zone, of course, which is for a lot of people probably what happens. So I think that's what we're looking to leverage, and hopefully we're also trying to get, we use the Cloud App Security Console a fair bit and that kind of stuff. We'd like to try and get as much stuff as possible in a single console. So we're hoping that maybe we can stop using some of these other Microsoft consoles and get everything kind of surfacing maybe within the Sentinel console. So we've only got one pane of glass to look at.
Yep, I agree with that. Yeah, it's one of those threats which I was talking to previously. Like, you will have anonymous IP address, risky sign-in, or unfamiliar sign-in properties, or coming from infrequent country, like, or maybe a different time zone, or travel activity, impossible travel activity, and definitely you will use MKS and identity protection, and then you can go and look upon the investigation as how you would like to do on the Sentinel, and it will help you to secure that side of the world. Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. And I see John and William also had, like, anyone else can talk about their experience.
Yeah, I'll say something. My name's Josh. I'm from Shoal Group. We're a fairly small engineering firm in Adelaide, about 60 or 70 staff, and I'm the sole IT person. And I guess my remit includes, the whole scope. And because we work a lot with Australian Defence, we need to sort of, I guess, keep a really close eye on what's happening in terms of security events and things like that. So our plan is to sort of, push all of our logs into Sentinel, and then, have that capability like you were talking about before, in being able to sort of, I guess, track events and drill down and find out more about what's happened. I actually had a phone call from someone when I was driving into the office this morning, saying she got five MFA prompts within the space of about a minute. And, all I could say to her was, oh, well, go and change your password. It sounds like it's been compromised. I can check the sign-in logs, but that's sort of really all the power I have at the moment. So, being able to see the full scope of what's happened across, different systems is sort of, and have it available fairly easily is where I'm sort of hoping to get to at some point.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid scenario. Going back to the same multiple failed login attempts, when somebody is trying to do, it might be a password display attack or a brute force somebody trying to do, and obviously you have to look upon the MKS and things in this playbook area, like where you can help use the Sentinel, is like you can automatically use the sign-in risk policy and block the user, and then maybe force the user to change the password when they try to log in next time. So and with the MFA, they can easily do it as a self-service password reset. So that's good to know the use cases you guys are using. Anybody else would like to share their story before I jump into the demo? Okay, yeah, I'm 15 minutes behind the sort of an hour, so I will keep going. And I will, as I mentioned, like the deployment of the Sentinel is not that hard, but the challenge what we will have is the consistency of the deployment if we are working as a customer service provider, as a consultant, and making sure that the customer gets the maximum of the investment on the Sentinel side, including the workbook, playbook, the analytics rules, and all the components in the hunting space as well. And deploying that using the DevOps is really easy. Like you can definitely deploy using the manual approach, and it's not that complex, but it's very quick to get a lot of analytics rules, package them up in a DevOps, and use the Azure. Now, as I understand, few of us have been using the Sentinel, but as I see, this is not really going into the advanced side. So I will try to stay into the basic and the medium layer of the Sentinel information, and then maybe at a later stage, if Adam is happy, I can bring some of my friends where we have been deploying Sentinel as a DevOps and showcase as how you package analytics rules and deploy them and show the in practical working. Because if I have to go and I have to create a brute force attack on my account to showcase it as live how things are working. Cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two 10x demo. One is just for the information purpose, as how the things are sit and where the information sits, and then how do you navigate between the channels so that everybody gets a basic understanding of the navigation model and the hierarchy and details. And then I'm going to go to a different tenant where I have permission to go and set up things. And I will show that how do you connect on the workbooks and look at the hunting queries and notebooks and everything else. So I hope everybody can see the demo up here. This is a demo which we have, which is really having the dummy data into the picture and trying to showcase as how the things will look like. So once your Sentinel is up, you will see this as a landing page. And as you can see here, you will see the event and time alerts over the time. You will see some alerts coming through. You will see some recent incidents coming through. The data sources, office activity or anything, and then obviously you can see the potential malicious attacks if events happening across the globe. Now, sometime we will not have that data because it's a demo tenant, but you will be able to see in your demo live environment. Now, I will talk about this navigation model here. Let me zoom a bit here so it's better sometime. Now, the very first thing is when you start Sentinel, you go and set up a log workspace so that you can connect the logs and store them, and then Sentinel can process them. Once you have done, the very first thing I will do is go and do a data connector check. Because until your data connector is not connected, you won't be able to see the logs coming through. You can see there are so many providers here, Microsoft, Amazon, Barracuda, Cisco, F5 Networks, and Palo Alto, Okta, and everything. And there are more partners from the security coming, including Symantec as well now. Then you will see the data type. So you will be able to see what type of that information comes. Now here I will try to just filter it on Microsoft. So I'm not saying like I am really selling Microsoft, but I'm just trying to say like I will just focus on Microsoft. So because that might be related as an M365 component to it. Then you will be able to see a lot of, okay, like load, okay. So this is all the data sources. Now connected, not connected, and coming soon status is here. Now you will see that the connected one has a dark green line here. It could be the thing or indication that it's disconnected. And when you see here, I have 12 connected already. These ones are not connected as of now for me, which I can do that if I want to. And when you connect here as a data source, like I have to check. When you connect here, like say Office 365 here, you will see that there is a connector has 3 workbooks. And then you can see and look upon the connector page. Let me see if I can open this up because in the demo tenant. When you start connecting, it will tell you the prerequisites, the configuration. Teams preview is released yesterday only, so it's very new. I cannot apply here, but I can definitely do in my system. And then you will see, okay, what's happening. And then you will be able to go and look upon the activities and details, and then you will be able to see your analytic rules as well. So this is important to find out when you're trying to connect a data source. Are the analytics rules here good enough for you to do the work? If they are not really there as whatever you are looking, you will be able to go and create or apply additional rules. So it's not really that, okay, it's not there, how do I do it? You can go and apply and create an analytics rule and apply with the Office 365. So it's not a very hard task. Once you are connected, you will be able to go and see that information coming up here in the workbooks page. Now, here I will just go down to the Office 365. Now you will see the saved workbook because I have saved the connector and then configured it. Now, sometime you might not see the data coming through. Let me see if I can do this from a perspective. And then I'm gonna just select all. And then I'm gonna just select all user here. So as soon as I do that, I can see my information turning up and I can see all that data. So as you can see here, how many things, not here. You can see the total of the Exchange, OneDrive, and SharePoint, and then you can see the activity type as well, file, pages, web, list, folder. Then you can see the user type. So if there are system users being used or the accounts being used or the normal users, you can see this report very easily. And then you have the recent updates as happening across. And this is a demo training, so you will see Megan B very soon easily across the places, which is a demo account. This is your workbook when it's connected. Now, when you are working on the workbooks, you will see that the incident rules will be created when you connect the things. And here, if you see, you will see the system having the severity as a recommendation. And we are working with a customer right now where we are working with Microsoft to deploy Sentinel. The recommendation is anything which is medium and high, you should deploy it. Anything which is low, it's not necessary to deploy them, but it's good if you would like to have it. But definitely medium and high should go into the system so that you can run everything as much as possible as a medium alert and things. This is something new has come up as an efficiency workbook. It is working in my tenant. I will see here if it is coming up. Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah, great. Okay. So this really shows as how the things are being worked upon. So if you see here, this is the partner managed subscription. Then what is the workplace? Here and this is where you will see, okay, how well the things are going across. There are incidents as well happening. Then what's the priority of those incidents? Now there's 74 high priority one. Then if you would like to just go and look upon the 74 one, you can go back and see them. You can see the incidents created over the time. So as you mentioned, Josh and Damien, that there were things happening on a specific day. So it might be something somebody is trying to do the password match or trying to match up the password with the different user accounts, and you could see the spike up in the activities on a specific day. But then you see that, okay, there is nothing happening, things are okay on the day. And then you will be able to see what has happened, how much time it was running over the time. So it has a detailed information for a SOC person, what they would like to see into the picture. Then let me just go to the notebook here. Then this is the notebook section where you would like to get and import the notebooks. And it is, I will say, go to the notebooks only when you like to go into the advanced mode, but as a starting mode or on a level 100 or 200, which is where you are trying to understand things and moving, don't go into the notebooks. It could be complicated thing as well. Looks like complicated thing, but it is not. But start looking into the lower hanging fruits as of now. Then we have hunting here. Now, I can't create the new query, but I will show you. So what happens when you have this hunting in place, you can go and create the new query, and then you will be able to see the query running. And for each one, there is a query defined like this. This is a KQL. I will show you in my tenant. And you will see, okay, where the data sources are. Now, if you like to see the data sources coming from, because I've selected Office 365 previously, it is picking up from security events, which is the Office 365 one table. You consider all the data sources as your data tables, and then consider the activities happening in those tables as rows. And then you can easily understand, okay, if I have to get a query working, what is the things which I have to put in place? And then you can have a KQL course through in the Pluralsight. I guess it is free under the Azure. If it is not, then I have to check. Last time it was free. So there is a course in the Pluralsight about KQL, and it's one of the popular course. Those who are trying to learn Sentinel, Microsoft recommends to go through that. You will be able to create those queries and run them up. And let me just try running this up. Okay, yeah, I don't have permission for the log analytics. That's why. So I will show that. Then it comes to the analytics. This is where your things will run, and then you can create a new schedule query or incident creation rule. So there are two things. Maybe let's say you would like to run things on a daily basis and see the alerts happening, see the things happening. But at the same time, you want something to kick it instant. So as soon as there is an alert happening in the Sentinel and you would like to trigger the subsequent steps following that to maybe run a query, get the results, run the logic apps on those results, you have to go and create the incident creation rule. When you are working with the DevOps model for deploying them in the customer space or trying to deploy in your space as well to manage the deployment of these rules easily, the scheduled queries are easily deployed, but the Microsoft scheduled creation rules are a little trickier because they depend on that dynamic data source connection. The playbooks are the logic apps, as you can see using the icon here, and this is all about how many logic apps or how many playbooks do you really want to bring into the picture. Let me see that designer if I can open that up here. So as you see here, okay, I can't see the connections, but this is where it will go in and try to connect to the Sentinel and then try to go in and process the things. Right, because we don't have the logins for the connection, so it will fail for us, but it will run as the logins on the demo. The community thing is the cool thing which I have liked here. So you can directly go to the community and you have workbooks, analytic rules, hunting queries, playbooks, and there are so many. You can bring them directly into your tenant. So if you say, okay, I would like to have a query for your account block or setting up a password, you can see if there is a Sentinel query in or the playbook in the community side of the GitHub, and then you could just bring it up into your tenant. It's very easy to just port them up. They are the global settings. So that's the sort of a picture as what's happening on the left hand side, what each individual tab and section means, and then what information resides over there. Any question before I jump into my demo tenant and show you the things happening? Okay. Yeah, so I don't have incidents because this is my personal tenant. I don't log in so often and trigger those alerts, but I will show you what you will do here. So when I go to the workbooks, and I would like to add a workbook here. Now, previously you have to create the workbook and then port it, but now it's very easy to go in and create the new workbook. Now I will go and edit this workbook. And I'm gonna go and edit the text. So basically it's pretty much like a canvas available here now for me to see what I want. I can add a query, I can add metrics. So when I do add metrics, I can go and look upon this. I can look upon the information like last hour or last 30 days or whatever things, the type of the chart. I can use the Graph API as well. As I was talking about, that you can leverage the Graph API to create your workbooks, but it's pretty much getting built into the system now. You can change the resources. You can look upon, okay, where you are looking at. So as you see, there's so many places where you would like to see. And then this is the log workspace. And then you will be able to go to the advanced settings, set up those information, visible column, all columns, and then you can set up that style, the margin, and you will be able to set that up. Now I will leave that there. And then when you run the matrix, you will get it done. Let me show more things. Then you have the query as well. So like the query using the KQL. So if you believe, no, this is not the thing which I wanted to do, but I want a query to run for me specifically and say this is a custom query to maybe look upon the last 24 hours thing across the Sentinel space, then I can just write query using this. So I can use that query here. I can look upon some samples if I want to pull it up. So count by the columns, table names, the computer heartbeats, the alert resourcing. So I can bring this up and then say that, okay, what's going to happen here? And then I can look upon the source. I can use the different sources as well. And this is coming from the log analytics, my workspace. So if you have current place where I'm working right now, the customer has multiple Azure instances, and we are setting them a new Azure Sentinel instance. And they would like to, they were asking us like how we can bring that legacy data. So if I can't, because if I can bring the legacy data, it's going to trigger a lot of things because the data ingestion happens. Now, what I can do is for them, which we are doing, is you build a new workbook, which will go and look upon that Azure log workspace if it is in the same structuring, and then they can see that data in a one Sentinel space rather than trying to trigger the things. And this is really helpful as how the things being worked upon. I can do the add group preview. So I can go and say, okay, which group I would like to add. I can do the grouping, so nested grouping basically. So I will be able to create my dashboards. Now, this is very easy. If I go back 2-3 months when I was deploying for a few customers, I have to write this whole thing in the notepad sort of a thing and get it done. Right now, it's very easy drag and drop scenario for us. Now I will go back. The hunting, I will show you how to do the query. So as you see here, when you are writing a hunting, you will be able to see, okay, what are all the tactics you would like to apply, and do you have entity mapping? So what you can do is you can do your entity mapping, but you have to go and define your query here and then see the query results. Then you will be able to say that, okay, your accounts, your host, IP, and then this is sort of like standard information across the tables. If you are not doing your accounts or IPs, you don't have to map them up, and then you will be able to publish your query. So if I show you the query here, let me show you the built-in one. Let me show you. Not here. Yep. Now I'm gonna quickly pick up one. I know I'm running over an hour now. I'm just gonna pick up this one. I'm gonna just see the view results. Second. I can do a live stream, so I can just straight away see, and I can do the analytics rule as well. So if I have to do anything with this, I can just straight away create an analytic rules. It should have shown me. I might be missing something. Interesting. I have to see that. I might have not fixed the log analytics behind the scene. Yeah, but you will be able to go in and look upon the query, set up the query, and run them up, and do the things. Now this is something new which has come up, and I was just playing with it. So something called as entity behavior analytics. So when I was showing you the query which is running, the objects can be mapped as an entity, and you will be able to go and see that information. So you will be able to see that entity behavior here straight away on the analytics and by on using the accounts and by the host as well. So you can see that thing happening this is new. I'm not sure if you have seen this. I've seen this just a week back. Oh, I have shown you the data connector. So I have already connected the data connectors here. So if I open up the connector page right now, because I can go and set it up as a team set also. And then I can go next page and I can see all the things. So if you see here, it has a create rule. So when I'm deploying this, I can go and create the rules directly and it will just go and create in my system. Right now, it has just connected, so it will take time to run. Then I can go and look upon the templates. So these are the rules which are there. I can go and create the rules if I want to. So this is straight away connected to your workbook and the data connector. The analytics, let me create one here. So this is a step-by-step guided process. So if I say, then I'm gonna use the initial access, and I will say enable. Then I'm gonna go and set the rule. So this is my query, which is which I'm gonna write using the KQL. Then I will do the mapping of the entity, and then I'm gonna say run query every 5 hours, or maybe every day one time, or maybe every minute or so, whatever. And then I will see, okay, if the query return results are more than 5, then I have to really do some action. Then I can do group all the events into a single alert, or trigger an alert for each event. So if I do this, I will be able to go and set them up here. So create incident, then I can do the grouping, but I really don't want to do that. I can go and look upon my automated playbooks. So I can select the playbooks if I have got them up. So things like if I create a rule here, analytic rule to block the account of the user who has logged in 5 times in the system in a minute with a failed login attempt, I can go in and select that analytic rule playbook and say that, okay, block that account straight away. And then you can just go and review it and create this rule. Right now it is validating, but it is fail. Yeah, it is gonna fail because I have not set it up. So this is how you will set up your analytics rules in the playbook. So I have created some task thing here, which is going and creating the task in the planner, but you can go and add your playbooks. It's taking time. Yeah, okay. I can show you here that thing because this is easy because this is created. So I will go to the designer. So whenever I receive an HTTP request from my Azure Sentinel space, I am gonna go and list my all the teams, and then I'm gonna go and process that into a response and send it next. So why this is happening? So whenever a team is created into my environment, I will be able to know that there is a new Microsoft Teams is being created, and then I can do the next processing. Now the Teams connector has just come in preview yesterday, so it was not there. So we have to handle this using the custom logic apps in this scenario. So I will go here and close it. The same way I can go and create a task. So as soon as anything happening on the system, let me see that. So as soon as anything happens in the system to understand, okay, what is happening as an alert, then I go in and create a task in the planner with that specific information. And then until my task is not created, I will go and take that task, the detail, and send it back into the system and say that this is the planner task created. And then somebody who owns that task has to go back and complete that task. So it's like rather than ServiceNow, I was using the planner and Teams to manage my security risk. Now here I can go and start creating the logic apps. I have not created any logic apps, so it's just coming up there, but it's pretty much the same. So you can go and do it as well. Now on an overall setting, if you see, like this is where the pay as you go thing will come into the picture, and I'm just paying as I'm going, and it is going from my Microsoft subscription of Visual Studio. Now, right now, by default, your data retention is 90 days for free. Now, a lot of customer goes and talk about data retention for a year or longer. You can definitely retain that data into the log workspace, but that really you need to have that as active data, or do you have to have that data for a compliance perspective? So you can move that data to a separate log workspace, and you don't have to pay more than a 90 days storage perspective. So this is where the Sentinel configuration happens, and you can create a lot of things. Now, I have gone over the 1 hour and 10 minutes almost now, so I will try to stop here, and we'll try to maybe schedule another session with Adam in some time with the hands-on, where I will show that how to create the workbook and rule book, so that everybody is now on the same page, and we can take that to the next step maybe. Any question on this, or have you seen anything new today? This might be repeat for some of us, but anything so far?
Feel free to take yourself off mute or post in the chat if you'd rather ask on chat, and I'll read out the question. I'd be guessing a lot of people want probably just more real world examples and experience as to how to actually use it in the end. So yeah, maybe we should look at getting you back, if possible, in a couple of months' time to go through some more stuff. I've got a question from Ewan. Is Azure Sentinel an abstraction on top of Orc Analytics Workspace? Needs work.
No, that's a good question, because Workplace Analytics, which is the Microsoft 365 component, is different to the Sentinel. Sentinel is more about the alerts, the logs which are being generated across the system on the accessibility of the information. The Workplace Analytics is more about as how you are working, and it uses the Graph API behind the scene to understand within office hours work being done on the email or files, or co-authoring with other colleagues, and how much is after hours. So it looks at that healthy work-life balancing. The Sentinel is more of a security side of the work, where it sees what's happening in the environment.
Oh, good question, Lynn. Thank you.
Great.
If anyone does want to contact you after this, they get other questions or advice, what's the best way they should reach out to you?
Sure, that's a good thing. So if anybody needs any helping hand, like I will keep monitoring. I'm on the Adelaide channel, so if you want, you can just tag me and post a question. Or if you need really a one-on-one email address, I can message you up there. I have opened my Twitter and the LinkedIn. So if you have anything, feel free to jump on there as well as a social media.
I'll grab your Twitter and post it in the chat. Eileen said, Azure Sentinel monitors on the tenant level or the subscription level?
Azure Sentinel monitors on the tenant level or subscription level. Okay, so Azure Sentinel is neither at a tenant level nor a subscription level. Azure Sentinel is an independent analytics workspace, you can say, which you can configure to look upon for specific alerts and logs. So you can configure it to use either with the Azure Security Center, which is at your Azure subscription level, but you at the same time you can use the same Sentinel workspace to connect with your Office 365, which is at your tenant level. So it is about the connections and the information which you bring in.
Notice while connecting up some of the connectors to Azure Sentinel, some of them let you pick which subscription you want to connect to as well.
So when you configure the Azure Sentinel altogether, it is configured within an Azure subscription itself. So definitely it will play within that subscription to pick up the other components.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you from you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julian.
Yeah. maybe I will work with Adam, and because we ran over time, so next time maybe we will just straight away jump into a demo mode where we will go and set up the Azure Sentinel using the DevOps maybe, and then try to showcase as how we run the analytics, and then showcase that as a lifetime when the brute force attack happens, how do you see those alerts coming into the Sentinel? We have to set up and I have to borrow some friends to create that brute force attack for that alert to come through.
Cool, that sounds good. Hopefully everyone else is interested. I definitely am.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, yeah, we'll work that out, Ashish. Yeah, thank you very much for that presentation.
No problem. Thanks a lot for having me today, and I hope I was able to show something on the Sentinel side. Yep, definitely a long way to go in the Sentinel because it's a bit complicated if you have not played with it, but hopefully we will be back soon and we'll show the demos live.
Yeah, well, possibly can arrange that for 2 months' time. We've got someone lined up for next month, but then the month after is open. So yeah, hopefully we can sort it out then so people aren't waiting around till next year. So yeah, John said, interesting. We are comparing different models at the moment. Thank you. And Damien said, thanks. So, great.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Very much appreciated. And look forward to having you back hopefully very soon.
Yeah, I will be back soon. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Andrew, for the.
Thanks, Ashish. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
Everyone. Thanks. I'll stop the recording now. Thank you.
Yeah, just an update there. There are a couple of new dates for